our amazing series that we're calling Our Future on the Ballot, where we talk to incredibly interesting candidates for incredibly interesting offices across the country. And now we're joined by a candidate who I'm really, really excited to talk to, because it is very rare that I get to learn about a new, misunderstood or not understood, but super important office. So today's guest is Tolleson Mayor Anna Tovar, who is running for Arizona Corporate Commissioner. She previously served as a state senator in the Arizona House of Representatives and as a city council member of Tolleson, Arizona, where she's the mayor now. So this is someone with a long history of public service running for a position I bet you haven't heard of. And I haven't either. And we're going to find out more because this is really cool. So Mayor Tovar, thank you so much for joining us, first of all.
Thank you, Emily, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
So Corporate Commission. Can you tell our audience what the purpose and the goal is of the Arizona Corporate Commission and why this office is so important?
Well, that's such a great question, and I get it almost every day from Arizona residents. I call it the most powerful entity that most Arizonans know nothing about, but it impacts their life every single day. So the Arizona Corporation Commission was established in the Arizona Constitution as an independent entity at that time to cover the railroads, but soon incorporated more than that. So utility, private water companies, even we go as far as security and bonds. If you have to establish a business in Arizona, you have to go get your license, the LLC, through the Arizona Corporation Commission, or those big power lines that no one wants in their backyard, that has to go through the Corporation Commission for approval. Any future plant, whether it's a solar plant, nuclear, or a coal, and I'm not saying I want those, but they have to go through the commission as well too. So a vast oversight. We also still continue to have oversight over railroads, over gas, both, gas that powers your car, and if you cook with gas as well too, that's another entity. So everything from, you flipping on a switch at home, to flushing your toilet, to cooking on your stovetop, to driving your car, these are issues that are at the commission day in and day out.
That is really the stuff of life, right? Like the unnoticed things that you only notice when you get a bill for them later.
Exactly.
You yell at your partner for leaving the lights on in the house when you're not there. So you've served as an elected official for like 20 years, which I cannot believe looking at you, because it doesn't look like you would have been alive when you started serving in office, but sure, 20 years in office. Now, is there something that the commission has done during your time of public service that prompted you to want to run right now?
Absolutely. For me, the issue is personal and near and dear to my heart. So when I was a public school teacher teaching kindergarten, I was in my 5th week of school, where at that time I was tired, and which was typical of every school year when you start off and you have 30 kiddos in your classroom. But this was a little bit different. And thankfully, through my husband's persistence, he encouraged me to go get checked. Long story short, I ended up with a rare form of leukemia that was caused by an environmental toxin. So my life changed from one minute to the next, and I had to fight the toughest battle in my life. I had to leave my teaching career, which I thought I'd be a teacher for the rest of my life. So for me, it was that personal issue that has propelled me to public service, whether it was a school teacher or a mayor, which I am right now, or former legislator, and truly had the goal all along to make sure that one day I would run statewide for this position, because I truly do not want another family to go through what I did. And I truly want to bring forward new renewable energies so that we ultimately have a clean air and clean water for not only our families now and our kids, but for future generations to come. And it's been pretty stale in regards to that trajectory at the Corporation Commission. So I was tired of complaining. I said, look, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna run for this as well too. And while running, I found out that I would actually, if when elected, if all turns out well, I'll be the first Latina in the state of Arizona to be at a state level and represent our state at a state level.
Wow, that's quite notable, and also I'm glad you connected us to the sort of very concrete impact that these decisions can have on people's lives, which would not have occurred to me had you not raised it. So this is clearly a very important, but sort of seldom looked at, seldom thought of office. And yet 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans are all running for the commission's 3 open seats. And all 6 candidates are running these public campaigns funded by the Citizens Clean Elections Commission. But that does not account for dark money in this race, which is, of course, money spent by nonprofits outside the campaign's structures. Can you talk to us about how dark money has impacted this race?
Absolutely. So dark money has a past with the Arizona Corporation Commission. For example, in the last election in 2016, there was entities, monopolies, utility companies that spent over $10 million just on one candidate alone so that he wouldn't get elected. They've played largely in Corporation Commission races. Also, we have a governor who has appointed and is notorious for appointing vacancies to the commission as well too. This year is just a prime opportunity for not only myself, but also the 2 other Democrats to get elected. We're calling ourselves the Solar Team 2020 because truly we want to be there for all the right reasons. We want to bring back the commission and why it was established in the Arizona Constitution, and that was for consumer protection and to put Arizona families' needs and issues in front of the commission and making sure that we're being that voice for them. But truly, again, the commission has been clouded with dark money and continues today. There is one utility company who got a new CFO who had made the pledge that they wouldn't be involved in commission races. I am optimistic that will stay true. But truly, when I get on the commission, I want to bring forward ethics rules and into the handbook that would prohibit and have their commitment in making sure that they're not playing in races at the commission. They're not using dark money as well too. We've seen dark money from the commission as well too impact our schools and going against our Red for Ed, our teacher strike as well too. Many of the taxpayer monies that are going to these entities are then being given to nonprofits as well too, and have that undue influence there. So truly we need to end that and bring the focus back to the commission where it belongs, and that's just serving everyday Arizonans.
Well, okay, so speaking of serving everyday Arizonans, I want to get into like the nitty gritty of your proposals and what they would do. So your opponents have said that your plans would lead to price increases and energy blackouts. Can you respond to that concern?
Absolutely, Emily. That in itself is so untrue. There is a great report that just came out that did an actual in-depth research in regards to what solar energy by these utility companies have provided in savings in regards to Arizona. And that is almost $2 billion since 2008 to 2016, where they've tracked measures on how renewable energy can actually save money in its consumers' pocketbook day in and day out. So that in itself is not going to fly. Yes, there has been issues in California with their rollouts, and they tend to compare that scenario as a doomsday approach here in Arizona. But one thing that we've learned is learning from mistakes of other states that have gone through this similar transition, and how can we have a plan that would fit Arizona's needs and at the same time bringing that expanded renewable energy and paying close attention to how we can prevent other things that have happened, such as black rollouts in California and other states as well too. So I ultimately say it's like, hey, we need an Arizona plan that fits Arizona families, and I think coming together and bringing those solutions is totally doable. But again, we need the right people on the commission to make those changes.
Well, so speaking of problems with the utility, everyday consumer problems, as commissioner, would you ever vote to allow any utility hikes during the pandemic?
Well, that is a great question. Right now, as mayor, I am trying to do everything possible to bring resources into my community, who is about 90% Latino. And these are resources that have to help them at their pocketbook. I placed a moratorium in place where we are now not doing any type of shutoffs. And also having utility forgiveness as well too by soliciting grants from private partnerships. So we're doing everything possible here, and I feel that that is an appropriate measure that needs to be brought forward at the commission. Right now, during this pandemic, time is tough and it's not going away anytime soon. I'm hopeful that we don't go into a surge, but these are the times that we need to come together to have these solutions for families that in most of need. So I am definitely for and making sure that we have these policies in place that would prevent shutoffs, especially to our most vulnerable communities, so that they can make sure that they're staying healthy and preventing and getting COVID by their families as well too. My city right now is currently a hotspot, and I know day in and day out the issues that are facing Arizona families. I get those very tough calls of people that are sick, and those even tougher calls that keep me up at night when people pass away. We don't need to be where we are today. You know, this is due to a lack of a national plan and due to a lack of a state plan by our governor. So for me, the solution is easy. We need to have policies in place at the commission preventing these types of shutoffs, you know, for our Arizona families.
So speaking of which, you've got about 40,000 households in Phoenix, in neighboring Phoenix. And the greater surrounding area also included in that number, that are delinquent on utilities payments right now. And of course, we know that this delinquency, I hate the word delinquency, like families are behind on their utilities payments. It can be a major burden on people who are already struggling economically, struggling to recover from the pandemic, may have lost their job or not be able to work because they've got to manage kids who can't go to school. You know, there's a lot of potential hardship there. So what can the Corporate Commission do to help ease utility debt?
That's a great question, because I agree with you totally that there are hurting Arizona families here that are making these tough decisions of, do I pay for the monthly rent? Do I buy the groceries? Do I pay for these life-saving medical medicines that I need? Or do I pay my utility bill? How are all these decisions, you know, these are very troubling decisions right now, especially those that have been cut in hours, that have lost their jobs, or that are essential workers and that are putting themselves in risk day in and day out to move this economy forward. I definitely believe at the commission that commissioners can hold these entities accountable in making sure that we have this type of help. And I don't like, you know, delinquency as well too. We had an issue last summer in regards to a senior citizen that actually passed away because she was about $43 short in paying her utility bill, when this utility company actually had a credit of about $50 and didn't apply the credit to the shutoff. So this is just terrifying situations that should not have ever happened and should not happen in the future. So there's a lot of preventative measures that commissioners can take to hold these entities accountable, so that situations like this that happened to one Arizonan here in Sun City should never happen again. And especially protecting our most vulnerable, whether you're immune suppressed or you are pregnant. I mean, there's so many situations that are happening that we need to show that one another that it's going to take all of us to get through this pandemic. And right now, the best thing that we can do is offer help and assistance and show that we ultimately care. And so that's one thing I'm going to make sure I'm going to use my voice at the commission, is holding these entities accountable and knowing that their consumers are real people. They are real people behind those bills that come day in and day out, behind those delinquent bills that they're receiving. They need to remember that there's a person struggling on the other end of that when they receive it, and they're terrified. Trust me, we've done amazing outreach in our city to make sure that we're communicating with our constituency to say, hey, we're not here to hassle you. We want to help you. And I think if people heard that from their utility company more, they'll be more willing to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need help. How can you guys help me?
It would take people a long time to believe that their utility company really wants to help them, but that seems like a PR challenge for another day. I want to let you conclude on a big positive idea, because we've talked a lot about sort of like enforcement mechanisms and ways to hold corporations accountable. But When I think of Arizona, I admit this is a bias, but I think I'm not alone. I imagine people's shoes like melting to the pavement. Like that is the image, and like glorious canyons and beautiful red rocks and like spectacular outdoors, but that will also melt your shoes to the pavement. So green energy enthusiasts, of course, have suggested that like a 100 mile by 100 mile array of solar panels in Arizona could meet like much of this entire nation's energy demands, which is an amazing sort of big new industry idea, but it's also very dramatic. They point to it, Arizona, as the perfect example of like where a space like this could exist. So can the Arizona Corporate Commission explore ideas like this? Do they have the power to bring such a thing into being or closer to being?
Oh, absolutely, they do. And what's sad is that the past 8 years, they've been backing away from that in regards to how do we expand renewable energy. They're going in the opposite direction when we should be moving forward in creating a green new economy and green new jobs in our community. There's no reason why, like you said, you visualize people melting, their shoes melting. Well, it has happened to me, and you could actually fry an egg or cook some cookies on your dashboard. Today is going to be about 101 degrees here in Arizona. And yes,
I will note for the record for future people watching this, it is October 15th.
Yes, October 15th. There has been more issues in the past couple of summers, even more so now with the pandemic, of heat exhaustion, heat exposure. These are true issues that affect our community day in and day out that we need to bring solutions to. And I feel that we will bring solutions to if we have the right people on the commission to move forward aggressively with expanding our renewable energy. One thing I truly want to also focus on is within our native tribes here in Arizona. We have a few tribes that are moving, thankfully, away from coal, but we need to make sure that we're not leaving these communities behind. We need to reskill them, retool them, and have that reinvestment from the industries that have made billions and billions of dollars on these native tribe lands. They need to come and partner up as well too, so that we find solutions on how we transition from fossil fuels to a clean new energy and energy jobs in all parts of Arizona. To me, that's just truly the most important piece that on how we are going to leave our legacy in the state of Arizona, and making sure that we have clean water, clean air, clean environment. And also it just focuses back on when I was a school teacher, so many children with asthma. Like, we can do better, we should do better, but we need to have commissioners there at the commission that are going to hold these entities accountable in requiring them to join, what in Arizona we call them rest rules, on how we establish better rules for them, so that we can make that true commitment of how we become greener in Arizona and healthier as well too. I think you can do both. Many people are saying, well, you can't have one with the other. I'm a true believer that we can turn this into a new green economy with new great green jobs for Arizona families as well too. We have the sunshine, we have that total resource advantage that many other states do not have. We need to play that to our advantage. We have 305 plus days yearly of that solar, and we need to transition that. There's no reason why that we shouldn't be Arizona should be the Arizona, the capital, solar capital of the world. That we need to accomplish, because it is doable, whether it's, a combination of rooftop and all other measures in regards to solar. We can get there. We just need to be persistent, and we need to have the right commissioners on board to make those bold moves, hold those entities accountable, and also bringing that focus back to Arizona families.
Well, Mayor Tovar, thank you so much for sharing this vision from the future battery of America, the great state of Arizona. It's been a pleasure having you here on the briefing. And thank you to our audience for joining another episode of Our Future on the Ballot. Our full episodes of the briefing will be available as podcasts on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And we're actually going to be live again tomorrow, continuing Our Future on the Ballot at 11 a.m. Eastern to talk to Minnesota State Representative candidate Esther Agbaje. So follow the Appeal News on Facebook or the Appeal on Twitter for the latest news. Set up those alerts so you don't miss any of these really cool races that you want to know about. I'm Emily Galvin Almanza. Thank you so much for